Okay, so I'm just going to do some kind of brief introduction. So first of all, welcome to Yeshe Norbu Mind Training Center. For me, this is much better than yesterday, because yesterday I had to do the introduction and start the streaming to Facebook at the same time, which is not really possible. So today is much better. But anyways, welcome here. This for you who haven't been here before, the Yeshe Norbu is part of a global organization called the FPMT, which has centers in some 47 countries, I think. And the idea of this place is just to cultivate the mind, the heart, the mind, and build positive qualities, compassion and focus and clarity and kindness. So it's we try to be like a gym for the mind or the brain. And we have things going on every day now of the week. We have lunch meditations if you want to drop by. There are courses going on, and then we invite great teachers like Stefan about monthly. We have a weekend event like this. Also in August there will be summer retreat. I don't remember the dates, but they're on our website. So if you enjoy the teachings, the retreat, which is 1 week in August, will be on the same topic, so then you can have a deeper dive. And yeah, some practical things. There will be, we will serve lunch at the center. So lunch will be at 12 o'clock. There's
At 12 o'clock.
or
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay. Or should we?
12:30.
12:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, lunch will be at 12:30. And yeah, it's there's a recommended donation of 50 kronas if you want to have lunch here, or you can, if you brought lunch, it's perfect to stay and have it here. And yeah, there's an emergency exit at that end. The other one is where you came in. Please turn off your phones. Don't keep them on vibrate. Turn them off. There's 2 toilets over there, one on this side, one on the other side. And those are probably the practical things. And then I just want to, and then I just want to welcome Stefan back to the center. I did this yesterday, but I mentioned yesterday that Stefan's been a very important person. I think without him, this place would actually not exist. He's been coming to Sweden regularly now or Stockholm, I should say, for maybe 8 years. He's been running retreats for perhaps the last 5 years, and just been supporting us in our practice, and it's been extremely valuable. And I know he's been a very important teacher to many, many people who come here. So with that, I'll hand over, and I wish you a really, really nice day. Thank you, everyone.
also, it can be a few people, so it's not so important that you have a clear visual image. It's more important that you can get a sense of that person, a sense which you can feel in your body. It's a bit like imagine yourself to sit in the lap of the father or mother you always wanted. So just a moment of feeling safe, feeling loved and seen, and feeling appreciated who you are, just as you are. And then the last part in this first meditation is an invitation for you to check in your heart why you are here. And why you are here this morning, but also why you are here. What's your life about? What's the direction you want to take? And is it a safe direction? So let's shift into sitting quietly. If you first check your posture, maybe you can adjust it a bit. Particularly if you sit rigid and tense, that you kind of back. important sentence was, the map is not the territory. And that part of we are the pioneers, you can say, pioneers, trying to bring these teachings, here in this case the Tibetan Buddhist teachings, into the screwed up Western psyche. So part of our work is also to translate these ancient maps, which are so helpful and which liberated many people, to translate it into our language without distorting them, but so that these maps actually contribute to our freedom, our liberation, our ease. So it's good to be creative and experiential. Maybe sometimes I'm too much, but that's good if I teach in a center like this, because then there's other teachers coming, so I can be a bit on the edge. So where to start? Maybe I can first say a bit on how to work with this material. You can't do everything at once. So awakening is a very complex process happening on many levels. And obviously there's many different ideas of what awakening is. But you have all the time you need. Relax. What you don't get now, you will get later. And we are all in different places in our life. We all have a different background, a psychological, from the Buddhist point of view, a karmic background. So the medicine we need right now in our life is actually individual, very, very different. Some of the medicine which is good for some people is actually bad for you right now. You shouldn't take it. You have to put it into the shelf for later. So within the Lam-Rim you have so many possibilities, so many different aspects of your growing up and waking up. And it's up to you to kind of use common sense and use your sense of what is wholesome for you, what is relieving you, what is liberating you. And you need to listen to that. I can't tell you like this. I mean, if I would talk with you individually, then I could help you to find the right medicine. But right now I need to kind of give the whole, no, I can't give the whole thing, but I will give you quite a lot of stuff. And it's up to you then to wisely choose what you need right now. And something in you knows it. You just need to find that voice of self-care and trust it. sometimes it's nice, to go to a tradition where there's only one practice. But that's not the case in Tibetan Buddhism. So I tell you how I work and worked with the material in the Lam-Rim. So I'm guided by Lama Sopa Rinpoche. I think he does that quite often with his students, but I don't know. I can just say how he's guiding me within this the Lam-Rim material, and that is. So he made me like a schedule for 3 years, and then he said, okay, so 2 months this, 3 months this, 2 months this, 3 months this, so something like that. And it takes me 3 years to go through this, which is Pabonka, liberation in the palm of your hand. And then when I come to the end, I start in the beginning again. So I'm doing that now since more than 20 years. So that means 7 times. That's not all. So what you don't find in the Lam-Rim is tantric teachings. So the Lam-Rim is actually the main preparation, the kind of cultivating the fields, preparing you to be able to be a genuine, healthy tantric practitioner. So you don't find tantric teachings within the Lam-Rim. On top of that, it's also part of the Lam-Rim, but it comes at the end. That is the practice of stabilizing the mind, shamatha. And I will talk about this maybe tomorrow or this afternoon. Because one of the reasons why the contemplation, the analytical meditation, most of the time is not very transformative is because our mind is all over the place. We can't stick. Let's say yesterday I pointed to the practice of gratefulness. Establishing a habit and process, a mental process within you, that you cultivate a habit of looking into what is good in your life. So that's like a mental process which we can slowly nurture and strengthen. And you staff the process of I'm not good enough. So you don't give it food. So at one point, the wholesome habit, the wholesome process, will be stronger than the way you would look at your life and others out of habit. So if you do a gratefulness meditation in the morning, even while you're doing it, probably you're not doing it because you're thinking about the unpaid bill. And also, as I said yesterday, analytical meditations are meant to trigger felt insights. So they are not meant to just give you some intellectual insights, but they are meant to change your experience. So let's say you do some reflection on gratefulness on the precious human life, and you have this kind of, wow, this is amazing, I'm alive. Wow, this is wonderful. It's like, wow, and I can feel care occasionally. Oh, that's so fantastic. It's so beautiful. So that's like, and when I say this, maybe some of you, get a sense of how this feels. Not if you're just in your head, but I invite you to listen, not just here. Yeah. To have kind of a bit of a connection with how it makes you feel what I say. So then if you don't have a stable mind, you're not doing the meditation, not really. And second, your mind is not able to pause and hold a wholesome state of experience, a wholesome state of mind. So you have a kind of a glimpse, and then the unpaid bill, which nurtures the I'm not good enough. Yeah. So that's a kind of that's really important to dedicate. Well, sometimes I sound so dogmatic. It's horrible. But sorry. So let's say more stable your mind, and this is my own experience, and it's tested in research on it's time tested since thousands of years. But more stable your mind is, more transformative any kind of inner work you do will be, whatever it is, whatever that kind of inner work is. So that's part of working with the Lam-Rim, is to dedicate some time to cultivating stable attention. And we all can do it. It's not difficult. If you have the intention and you have some tools from an experienced meditator, everyone can do it. Every one of us. So, I suggest, but it's also, because we're also different. So, for some people it makes sense, for example, to say, okay, so now I'm going to work with gratefulness for 3 months. That's what I will focus on. I know there's all the other stuff, and something in me kind of wants to do everything at the same time, but you kind of choose. So that's what I'm going to do for 3 months. For 3 months is maybe too long for some people. If you kind of have a very quick mind, like a mind which gets easily bored when there's not something new, then it might be better for you to do it a bit quicker, maybe 2 weeks, and then shift into something else. So when you work with one of the topics of the Lam-Rim, for example, the precious human life, then it's good to not stick with a traditional outline for 20 years or something, but you become a precious human life detective. So you kind of, and depending on your interests, like if you're interested in neuropsychology, if you're interested in science, if you're interested in art, so you use the interest and the curiosity you already have and bring it into this exploration. This is also practicing in daily life. So if you are working with a topic like precious human life, you also look for it. You become more aware in your daily life. You take a shower and you feel, wow, I have water. And you eat, and the process kicks in. Wow, I have food. So you can't force this process. I already said that yesterday. So it's not like you force yourself to think like that. That's not going to work. But if you use some time of quiet contemplation, which you do either sitting or walking, I mean, you can listen to a reflection or a guided meditation on the precious human life on your train when you go to work. You don't need to, you don't need to sit in a certain position. Actually, for this kind of contemplative meditation, it's good to walk. It's very good to walk, because then you have then one of the obstacles we need to work with in meditation is dullness. So, and if you have a walk in the cold air, then that will not be a problem. And also movement helps to get into the body and then you if you like to read, then you get yourself a few books around gratefulness, around precious human life. Look for some traditional texts, look for some temporary commentaries. So, and then in these 3 months you don't read the whole book, but you read 20 pages in it. And then you take this book and you read the 20 pages in it. Yeah? I wouldn't recommend these 2 books for beginners. Yeah? So there I would recommend a temporary teacher teaching the Lam-Rim. For example, Thupten Chödrön, Alex Berson, and since I say some names, because I just came across this wonderful book. Is Martin here? He is somewhere, but I think that would be a good book for the library. It's called Gradual Awakening, the Tibetan Buddhist Path of Becoming Fully Human, by a psychotherapist called Miles Neal. His main teacher is Bob Thurman, but he's also very much connected with Lama Zopa, so he mentions Lama Zopa. So he's a psychotherapist, so he has a lot of psychological, psychotherapeutical language, maybe for some people a bit too much. But it's important that we start to translate these teachings into our language. And he does that. And there's other teachers who do that, but I think this is one of the first really kind of traditional Lam-Rim books written from a psychological, psychotherapeutical thinking. So Gradual Awakening, the Tibetan Buddhist Path of Becoming Fully Human. Miles Neal, I think. No, Miles Neal. Miles Neal is his name. So, but then also, be creative, like Precious Human Life. I mean, watch Netflix documentaries on precious human life. Wonder, the wonder of, watch documentaries on consciousness, the wonder of consciousness, the wonder of awareness. So I mean, there's movies you can watch who bring this up. This kind of, wow, I have a precious life. I have freedom. I can grow. I can use this life in a meaningful way. So how can you nurture that? And you are different than the person next to you. So that what touches you and that what speaks to you will be something different. Don't stick to the traditional list and feel for 20 years, I can't connect with this, but I have to contemplate the Lam-Rim. It's not working. It's not working. You can read this for 20 years and nothing changes inside. You have memorized it, and because it does not touch you, it's not resonating with you. Be creative. and don't let other people except me to say how to do it. No, I'm joking. Don't let other people tell how to do it, because they are not you, and what worked for them, it does not necessarily work for you. So that's my suggestion, to to work creatively with certain topics within the Lam-Rim. Maybe you will feel this weekend you are kind of drawn to one of them, and then you go deeper there. Then also, yesterday I said one of the big advantages of the Lam-Rim is that you get a kind of frame, like a description of the... I mean, the Lam-Rim basically contains the whole teachings of the Buddha in a gradual, sequential, logical way. So that means also you study the Lam-Rim not only in Lam-Rim books. You study the Lam-Rim in any Buddhist book, from any tradition. But you, like when you read a book from the, let's say, from the Theravada tradition, so obviously you don't find the whole material in that book, but you can read that book and put it into this material. You know where it belongs. But you also know that there's more to it. So to get a kind of intellectual grasp of the Lam-Rim, one book is enough. Like, this Gradual Awakening. Or, if you can survive Pabonka Rinpoche without feeling more guilty, then that's good, yeah? So if you are a guilt-ridden person and a perfectionist, don't read this. Yeah? Unless, you have this kind of warning, like I give you now. Don't take it literally. Don't take it literally. These are stories, these are myths. Yeah. And of course it's a mixture of Indian and Tibetan. This is Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand by Pabonka Rinpoche. It's a mixture of male cultural Indian, Tibetan stuff. Some people start and then to discuss are there hells or not. I mean, how do you read the Bible? Have you not learned how to read the Bible in a liberating way, in an enlightened way? Why would you read this book in a different way? So to get a grasp of the Lam-Rim, that does not take long, but then actually to embody the Lam-Rim, to become the Lam-Rim, that takes a few years. I don't tell you how many because. So in that case, then it's good to go back to the direct path. It's all here. This is it. You have everything you need. So if you have chewed on certain topics in the Lam-Rim for some time and you don't notice growth, in particular, other people don't notice growth, because then that's where real learning starts. I mean, you have learned something when other people notice. Then you have learned something. So if you chew on something like the Lam-Rim for 10 years and not much happens, I mean, there was benefit, definitely, yeah. So it's not a waste of time. But then, then you need to ask yourself, okay, what is it? What is missing? Am I not becoming a more? Why I'm not becoming a more relaxed, at ease person with myself and others? So then it might be helpful to talk with a teacher who might kind of give you some pointers. So every genuine spiritual path brings up shit. Every genuine spiritual path will bring you into an identity crisis. In every genuine spiritual path, you will have times where instead of connecting with more meaning, you will lose meaning. In other words, if you are in this for feeling good, don't start it. Then your partner, and you are able to harm yourself and others not as much. The worst thing you can do in the dark night of the soul is to stop practicing. So this is not a well-being course in that kind of Western point of view, well-being Buddhism or something. It's not. So now, an overview of the whole thing, then we have a short break, and then there's time for questions. So, probably I will be upset tonight when I think about what I'm going to say now. Because this is now the simplified map of a simple map. Yeah, it's like, but anyway. So one way to divide the Lam-Rim is, and that's how often the Lam-Rim books also are kind of structured, is to talk about 3 scopes or 3 levels. And these levels, that you can distinguish them in different ways, but the most common way is to distinguish the intention, the motivation you have at that point on your spiritual path. Yesterday I talked about intention and motivation. So the goal you have, the aim, but also the kind of emotions which are surrounding the goal. For example, you can have the goal to stabilize your mind to make more money, yeah, because that really works. So then the goal would be stabilizing your mind, and the motivation, the kind of feeling would be greed. Yeah. Another person would also have the same goal, stabilizing the mind, but she understands, I need to have a stable mind to wake up for the benefit of all, and the emotion around us is compassion. Yeah? So out of compassion, a person could decide, I want to dedicate time for stabilizing the mind. And the goal would not just to make more money, but to wake up. Yeah? So that's important. So the 3 motivations here in the Lam-Rim are starting by, wow, it's not working out for me. What are the conditions for me to create a better future? So that's the motivation of someone on the first scope of the Lam-Rim. And better future here is actually also talking about future lives. Actually, from the Lam-Rim point of view, if you are only focused on this life, you wouldn't be seen as a spiritual practitioner. So you wouldn't have even entered this. Yeah. So what that means is, of course, the Lam-Rim teaching are useful for people who are assuming there's only this life. Of course, there's no doubt. But for making this material really meaningful for you, it would be helpful if you kind of relax that assumption. And kind of, you don't need to believe in future lives or something like that, but kind of the assumption, maybe I'm on a long journey here, on a very long journey, and this life is just a little trekking route, yeah, on a long journey. So that's quite helpful. And I mean, there's plenty of evidence. Yeah? So if you want to kind of back up this assumption, you find enough evidence in your own experience, in literature, through logical thinking and so on. So to kind of back up so that you don't feel you are just brainwashing yourself. So speaking about future lives, a common misunderstanding is here that there's something like reincarnation. So reincarnation would mean, there is a kind of soul, your true being or something like that, which jumps from life to life. But that's not the case. That's the Hindu description of rebirth. So this is not what the Buddha is teaching. There is continuity, but you are not going to continue. Obviously not. You are going to die. What you think you are is going to die. You will lose everything. But still there's continuity. So, in other words, it really matters what you think and what you do. It really matters what you are using this life for. It matters on a cosmic level. It really matters. Your healing process is not private. It's not about you, actually. If you heal traumas, if you work with healing methods, if you stabilize your mind, if you cultivate wholesome processes within this stream of consciousness, that matters. It has a huge effect. Even if you would just sit in your room and not see anyone, you're just sitting in your room and you heal yourself and you radiate loving kindness. So this long-term, this is such a relief. First, you have all the time you need. There's no lack of time. You don't need to rush. You're going to get there. Because everything else is not stable. Everything else is not reliable. You're going to get there. And the other is you are already there. So so that gives you really the space and the patience and the kind of being humble to make the steps which are necessary for you to clean up, to grow up, and to wake up. And you have help. There's Bodhisattva angels particularly designated to your case. Really. And they are not, they don't give up. Never. They never give up. So, the first scope, okay. What are the conditions, the inner conditions I can create to have a good future? Here, within the Lam-Rim context, good future actually means a precious human life, and part of the precious human life is that you find yourself continuously in an environment which facilitates your growth. So good future here does not mean be rich and healthy and famous. That's not that's a certain fame, a certain access to resources. That's necessary. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So you want to take care. You want to create conditions for that as well. So what is important here is to give up the materialistic worldview, to relax. You can't give it up, but to relax the materialistic worldview. Because otherwise you don't understand how your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. if you assume that there's an outer world which is kind of existing out of itself, by itself, and waiting there for you to go there and discover it, then this kind of teachings don't make much sense. So, and again, there's a lot of evidence to relax the materialistic worldview. A lot. Actually, it's not scientific anymore to think that there's an independent objective world out there. People who have a materialistic worldview, they think of them as scientists, but they are not anymore. That generation needs to die. And they will. So there will be a paradigm shift in the West. It's obvious. But I mean, the ones who are now sitting in universities and doing the research, they are all materialists. So, and they are not going to change. They have too much invested into the materialistic worldview. And they just ignore everything else which proves the contrary, yeah, the contrary, yes. So try to relax your materialistic worldview. And part of the materialistic worldview is that the brain creates consciousness. It's such a crap. And again, there's so much evidence for that, but you can't even publish in a scientific journal this kind of evidence. They wouldn't accept it. So if you think that your brain creates consciousness, that's one of the reasons why people feel there's no meaning. And we are helpless. We can't do anything. Because, it's so much pain. And this pain is real. A materialist would think that. So, if you find yourself in the materialist, and we all find ourselves there, it's very difficult for us. We're so brainwashed in that regard. Then, try to, read people like Alan Wallace or people who come from a scientific background, but who help you to relax the materialistic worldview. So, the intention to create. So part of understanding how to create good conditions for you is to understand that in what conditions you find yourself depends on your inner life. So you become interested in wholesome ways of thinking and acting, because you understand, if I want to have water in the future, I need to be generous with water. This is now very simplified, yeah? But so what is the cause for resources in the future is generosity. That's the cause for not being born in a rich family. Because if you don't have created through generosity the condition to have resources, then this rich family will go bankrupt. So this is so the topics in this is, as I said yesterday, precious human life, death. So the death contemplation brings a certain urgency into this. So this is a bit contradictory now to what I said before, to be just relaxed, yeah. But when you are relaxed and then you get urgent, then you are much more powerful, much more creative. Because there's less grasping and less perfectionism. I have to say something about perfectionism also. But, so that's precious human rebirth, death, and then karma. So karma is about these kind of laws on how your inner life is connected with the outer world. that you are a co-creator of the universe, basically. You are a co-creator of this, of what we call reality. So you become interested in the teachings of karma. So how does that work? Yeah. And then refuge. Yeah, so that's the safe direction in life. So in the first scope, you start to look for a safe direction in life. And here, mainly then, the practice of harmlessness. Stopping to harm others. Because basically, the world you're living in now is how it is to the way you treated others in the past. That's what the karmic teachings say. So if you want to have a different future, you start to cultivate a way of living which is as harmless as possible towards others and specifically also towards yourself. Because I mean, this is the first person you need to heal. This is obvious. You can't give anything much if you don't take care of yourself. So that's the first scope. The second scope is then, okay, nice future, that sounds good, but actually also a nice future sucks. Actually, what we call happiness, like hedonistic happiness which comes from nice experience, sucks. Why does it suck? First, it does not last. It's not reliable. If your happiness depends on sunshine, I mean, you're doomed in Sweden. Yeah? Sunshine, happy. Rain, unhappy. Sunshine, happy. That's samsara. Yeah. So sunshine, it's nice. I mean, and then from the tantric point of view, you would use methods to actually use the vitality of hedonistic happiness into the path. But we are not there yet. So here, in the second scope, happens something which is really difficult. Pema Chodron calls it the heartbreak with samsara. It's really difficult to give up the hope that moving to Malmö will make you happy. It's difficult. Because all your life you have invested into finding the right partner, finding the right job, finding the right city, finding the right place to go to holiday, and then to see that this is hopeless. This is where then people might slip into a kind of dark night of the soul. Nothing in your experience will satisfy you. Nothing. No good feeling will satisfy you. No good experience will satisfy you. And to see that, dukkha, it's called dukkha, the dissatisfactionary, that you're actually in a way suffering all the time, because all the time there is a certain tension, a certain restlessness, a certain unease, even on the beach. Yeah, and to recognize that and to admit it. Yeah, and then not having yet a fully developed refuge. This can lead into like a crisis of meaning. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I move to Malmö, to Stockholm, if I move to London. It doesn't matter. It all doesn't matter. So the second scope initially is quite challenging, and many people avoid it. Many teachings avoid it. The teachings on dukkha, that's dissatisfaction. So part of the second scope is also to understand where dukkha comes from. So we discover, wow, there is a cause for dukkha, for the restlessness, for this kind of feeling. I'm never really well within myself. Yeah. It's such a relief to hear it, because you might think something is wrong with you and you just need to do a couple of years of psychotherapy or something like that. No, it's not going to happen. Nothing will help you. Because even good feelings suck. And good feelings are also, there's this tension around it. Wanting to have more of it, being afraid of losing it, becoming reckless in acquiring it. So we in the second scope we look into the cause, and since there's a cause, you start to see, you start to understand, and you start to experience that freedom from bondage is possible. That there is an alternative. That there is actually accessible to you a sense of well-being, a deep sense of well-being, which is independent from how healthy you are, which is independent from what kind of feelings you have. A sense of genuine happiness, indestructible happiness, inner happiness, which is independent from the weather. You still might prefer sunshine, but your genuine well-being, your genuine sense of happiness is not affected by the change of the weather. So that's what happens in the second scope. So this insight into dukkha and then seeing the alternatives and moving towards it, that's called renunciation. And expect some struggles. Yeah. So the intention is liberation in the second scope. Yeah. So then the third scope, based on the first two scopes, so you can, when you get into more depth here, you will start to see how the first scope and the second scope, they create like a foundation. They mature you. Yeah? It's like a ground from where then the third scope can grow. So the third scope, which you find only in the Mahayana path, in the Mahayana tradition. This is, there's many ways to put it, but I already I mentioned the Bodhisattva seed or the Bodhicitta seed. So it is shifting your motivation, shifting your intention not only towards liberation but to enlightenment, to Buddhahood. So for that we would need to also look into the topic of Buddha nature. So you shift the goal to complete awakening, what is called enlightenment in Tibetan Buddhism. And you do that for the benefit of everyone. So your awakening process ceases to become a private matter. It becomes something something you offer, but also you understand it's either all or nobody. You understand that there is nothing like a private awakening, because there's no private person there which could awaken. So either all or nothing. For your freedom, you need the freedom of your neighbor. Otherwise, you're not free. You have maybe a temporary kind of bliss rest, transcendental peace. Yeah. But you're completely useless to anyone else. So that's this awakened heart, the bodhisattva intention. That is what we cultivate, or that's what we nurture in the third scope. Part of that is the 6 paramitas, the 6 far-reaching attitudes, and then also the teachings on shamatha. They are actually given in the third scope. It's a bit strange because we need also shamatha, or like more stable attention, to work with the other material. The reason for that is that within the Mahayana tradition, premature shamatha, so premature single-pointed attention, has its danger. You get stuck into a kind of bliss realm and you lose interest in anything else. Also, the most profound teachings around emptiness, obviously you need some of it also on the second scope, because you need to understand that freedom from bondage is possible. Here in the second scope, they are more profound. And the reason for that is similar. On the Mahayana path, you avoid a premature, too deep insight into emptiness, because it will undermine the growing up. It will undermine the cultivation of compassion, of bodhicitta. So on the Mahayana path, you want to make sure that wholesome habits, for example, renunciation and bodhicitta, are firmly set before you have a direct realization of emptiness. So that these processes, renunciation, so you are not a hedonistic seeker anymore, and you want to benefit others, so you take this vow of coming back again and again until all your mothers are free as well, so that they are firmly in space, firmly set, so they carry you through this experience of emptiness. Okay, so I think we have to have a short break. How long is usually the lunch break here? 1 hour or 1.5 hours? Huh? 2? Oh, no, that's too long. So I tell. Okay, good. Yeah, the lunch will be around 12:30. So we have a short break now, and then we will do a meditation, and then we do 1.5 hours until 2 to 2. Yeah. Okay. Good. Have a break. You are here, I'm here for you. So I would like to lead a short reflection on death to scare you a bit. So the reflection on death is a major part of entering a genuine spiritual path, but also bring an urgency into it. It's not meant to scare you. So if that happens, then you might need to ground yourself more into the teachings on the precious human life and Buddha nature. I mean, what is scared when we contemplate death is the egoic process, the identification with something you are not. That gets scared. So let's see. Be curious about what happens for you. And whatever happens is okay. So let's take a few moments to reconnect. A few moments of doing nothing. Appreciating the aliveness in your body, the rhythm of the breath. How is it for you to be here? And throughout the meditation, when you notice that you get involved into something else, you return to the body and to the breath. And you stay curious about how it makes you feel what I say. Or your death is certain. Everyone in this room has to die, like everyone else died before. So this is one thing we can be sure about. Nothing can protect you. You can be smart and healthy and young, successful. You can be a good meditator. You can be a saint. You can be the richest person in the world. There's no escape. Death is certain. With each moment, with each hour, with each day you approach death. This moment will come where you realize this is the end of this life, of this body, of this personality. There's many reasons to die, many conditions which can lead to your death. You're not safe anywhere. You can die right now. People died in meditation centers. Teachers died while teaching. I don't know if I come to the end of this talk. There's many causes for death. Death is certain, and the time of death is uncertain. You will feel it will be tomorrow or later, even on your last day. There's many unfinished novels, buildings, projects. This might be your last day. You might live a little longer, a month, a year, 10 years, 20 years. I guess in about 50 years, nobody here will be still alive. And one of you, one of us, will leave first, and we don't know who it is. Knowing that you're going to die and that the time of your death is uncertain, what is important in your life? What does really matter? Knowing that your death is certain and the time of death is uncertain, what is your song? What is it what you want to heal? What is left to forgive? Knowing that your death is certain and the time of death is uncertain, what mental processes do you want to have available at the time of death and at the time of your life? What is your refuge? Knowing that death is certain, the time of death is uncertain, what do you want to use your unique, precious, wild life for? Knowing that you're going to die, what holds you back? To sing your song. Are you living the life you want to live? Knowing that you're going to die and you don't know when, will that change your priorities? At the time of death, you will lose everything, you will leave everything behind. Even what you know, if it's on an intellectual level. You have to travel on alone. What do you want to turn to? How can you live your life in a way that you will not have regrets, or little regrets? You have a precious human life. Do you use that opportunity? Knowing that you're going to die and that the time of your death is uncertain, what does it do with this moment of life? Do you feel it? Do you celebrate it? Feel your breath, feel your feelings, feel the sun. Feel that you have friends. This moment is unique, can be experienced like this only through you. You are aware. You can feel the softness of your heart. This is so precious, so beautiful. You could wake up to your life by remembering that. Really soaking it in every moment, every day. Even the difficult parts. What is really important for you? What is your call, your yearning? Do you want to go for it? So let's take a few moments to just sit with aliveness, with this precious moment. Let the energies flow how they want to flow. sometimes just being alive now is enough. Just being alive right now is enough. So are there any questions, comments about what I said? Also maybe something I have not addressed so far? Yes.
Could you please explain the difference between belief in Allah and liberation through Buddhism?
Yes. You could also talk about the Bodhisattva Arhat, but usually the Arhat is the word for someone who walked the Shravakayana path. So the path where it is about self-liberation. So an Arhat kind of completes the second scope. So the intention of the Arhat is something like, this sucks, there is no hope, the best I can do is to get myself out of here. So, and that's what they call liberation, self-liberation. I'm a bit puzzled by that because it does not make sense for me. But when I I have some friends in the Thai forest tradition. It's quite inspiring to meet someone who is on that path. But I just don't get it. I mean, they would then say that the teachings on Buddha nature, so the teachings of the Mahayana path, they are not the teachings of the Buddha. So they don't have a sense that they can make a difference. So the Bodhisattva teachings, including the teachings in the Mahayana that we all have Buddha nature, so we all have this potential to wake up completely. They don't exist in that tradition, and they wouldn't look at it, because they would say this is not the teachings of the Buddha. It's made up by people who can't stand the truth. So I'm still in discussion with some of them, just also out of interest. But it's amazing to see their determination, and they have results, even maybe much more results than I can observe in so-called Mahayana practitioners, in terms of freedom of bondage, because they really go for it. So as I said, the enlightenment in the Mahayana tradition, that's completely different. It's like I mean, Star Trek is nothing compared to the Mahayana sutras, and compared with the description of our potential. What is actually possible? But I mean, it's crazy to sign up on the Bodhisattva path to say, I'm going to hang around in this shithole forever to save everyone. But that's what people who sign the Bodhisattva contract, that's what they go for. They take the responsibility for the whole universe, for their universe. But somehow it makes sense for people. I don't know. For me it does. But it's in a way crazy. I mean, for a materialistic thinking person, it's completely crazy. I mean, it doesn't make sense at all. But somehow there's a lot of people who are just drawn to the truth that we are servants, and that true fulfillment is through the simple question, how can I help you? How can I help you? That does not mean that within the Hinayana path there's no compassion, of course. I mean, it's not that you find more compassionate people in Mahayana centers compared to Hinayana centers, or nicer people or something like that. It's not like that. So it's not, it's not that they don't cultivate, I mean, metta, what they call metta, and it doesn't also say that they are less kind, or so it's not like that. So it's really, really different. The practices leading to self-liberation and the awakening there, than the practices leading to Buddhahood and the awakening there. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no.
We can go to the no part.
Since I don't understand liberation, I don't understand the difference within, but I guess for me it makes more sense for the Bodhisattva answer. But then I get curious about the experience in Buddha has, and why having that knowledge is also like how come it's dualistic in liberation, or the understanding of liberation in that, but that's something I just understand intellectually or conceptually, but
yeah, sure, that's where we start, but it's good also on the Bodhisattva path to appreciate Buddha moments, moments of awakening. For example, your whole life you were in the grip of a certain fear, as an example. And suddenly, through practicing, you start to notice that that grip is relaxing and maybe disappears completely. So that would be, that's like a moment of awakening. It's kind of awakening out of a trance. Or if you were in grip of the pattern, I'm not good enough, and suddenly that dissolves. It does not dissolve subtly, but gradually that dissolves. And at one point, you realize, wow, this is healed, this is gone. So you evoke out of the trance of I'm not good enough. So that would be a liberation, that would be awakening. And there's more levels, and so it's not that you need to think of the Mahayana enlightenment as this big bomb in the end. It's like a gradual process of awakenings and healings. So you become a more and more relaxed, easygoing person, through that you become more helpful to others, and you are more in contact with your intelligence and with your creativity, because there's more space for that. And the awakening, the awakening of the Arhat is kind of part of the Mahayana path. So it's not like they say this is, I mean, it's incredible, precious, and amazing, but there is more. There's more. There's more in your potential than just freedom of bondage. There's more. Actually, some Mahayana teachings say that these arhats, that they hang out a while, wherever they hang out, and then somehow that unexpressed potential of Buddha nature, which is also there in them, kind of starts to move. So there's like, they hang out in bliss, in useless bliss. I mean, for them it's not useless. I mean, for them they are not there anymore, but so there's nobody there who can experience that bliss, but there's bliss. And then the myth in the Mahayana tradition says that kind of tension of noticing, oh, there's more, something wants to move here, will then make them continue. So that's what the Mahayana propaganda says, that we are all secretly on the Mahayana path, even if we don't know it. God realm? Yes, that's the main insight leading into liberation on the Hinayana level is the realization of no self. So many of them philosophically actually hold a view that there is an independent world and that it really exists. So they have quite it's not all the schools, but there is a kind of materialistic way of looking. So they look just into no self. Whereas in the Mahayana tradition, emptiness is the twofold emptiness. So it's the emptiness of no self, that's, yeah, sure, but then there is also the emptiness of everything else. So the kind of emptiness you realize on the Mahayana path is more complex, or is more complex than just realizing no self. The God realm, that depends what you mean when you say the God realms.
Since you talked about bliss.
Bliss, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess a Christian mystic who has a dissolution of who has an experience of no self, so an experience of no separation, an experience of everything is God, I guess they are describing, that's at least my assumption right now, they're describing the same kind of experience, just in other words, in another, they put it into another story. But I think they're experiencing something similar, or maybe the same, or in the Buddhist view, the God realm is a dead end. So that's why I said in the Mahayana tradition, premature shamatha combined with premature insight into emptiness leads into a dead end. So the gods in the Buddhist cosmology, they are kind of stuck in a place where they hang out and have parties and stuff like that. But it's not really reliable. So it's also impermanent. So in the Mahayana, you try not to end up in the God realm. That's why they're also not interested in the jhanas, which is like this meditative absorption, which comes after shamatha. So they are not interested in that. Something else?
I'm trying to build a bridge between the Zen practice and for example, the study of Lam-Rim. I have deep foundations in Zen practice and more than 30 years. And in the tradition Soto Zen, we just practice, we just do things. There is no realization. Just do the thing as you are doing just here and now. And I'm satisfied with that when I spend time in monasteries. But then when I live in this world, something is missing. And excuse me, comment est-ce qu'on dit une bouée de sauvetage? Living bar? No.
No, like a, I don't know. And what that means, it's not a livboj.
Livboj. Vad heter det på engelska? Okay.
Like a raft or something.
Yeah, you know. And I really see, like, I love to study, I love the books, I love to spend nights and just practicing, but I feel like I really have difficulties to connect completely, because I feel alone with Lam-Rim, with those studies. I feel completely alone, because when I try to get in touch with a teacher in Tibetan tradition, I don't know how to express myself. I don't know what kind of language. I don't know what kind of question. I don't know. I really don't know. And So I'm happy to see you here.
So you don't feel so alone.
What did you say?
You don't feel so alone.
Yes, I understand that, of course. But just to even if Zen in this Mahayana way, there is also differences, and how to bring the two things together. Because when I talk with people in the Zen tradition and with my teacher, he's living in San Francisco. He told me about the story when I met Kalu Rinpoche, the old one. And Kalu Rinpoche asked him, what kind of practice do you have? And he said, oh, shikantaza, just sitting. And Kalu told him that it's very advanced. It's like Dzogchen. And at that moment, my teacher told me, I felt that it was a kind of gap between. We couldn't communicate about our practice. And this is why I feel.
Oh, this is interesting.
I don't know if you can say something about that, or because you have experience in other traditions too, as you told us yesterday.
Yes. Oh, there's a lot. I really appreciate your question. Also, I appreciate your curiosity, and I think kind of connect with your struggle in it. So that was a really good remark of Kalu Rinpoche, because there is a certain level of practice which you find in all Buddhist traditions, and it's about what you describe: Dzogchen, Shikatansa, the getting to know the one who knows, and the Thai forest tradition. So there seems to be this unbroken transmission within the Buddhist teachings, which is beyond words, which is beyond books, which is undescribable, they say in the Tibetan tradition. So this is amazing to get in touch with that within different Buddhist tradition. And then actually, if you look into Advaita Vedanta or Christian mysticism, it's Sufis, so it's all there. And so the Soto Zen is a pathless path. So they would see all this stuff more as an obstacle, and there's truth in it. There's truth in it. Yeah, and it seems that, I mean, it seems it works better, the Zen.
I mean,
in terms of when you talk with practitioners, after 30 years of practicing, I mean, you have had, and you will also know people who have genuine satoris, and so you have to look far. You have to search long in the FPMT to to find that kind of experience. But then also I like what you say. Okay, I like to read these books, and it can help me maybe to navigate my daily life a bit better. So maybe there is something you can find in these teachings which can add.
Definitely.
The danger is that it might make it too complex or unnecessary complex, and it might create doubts into your home practice. But if you can take this lightly and see it as empty, as myths, as stories, which can add to your way of living, of course, then I think it's helpful to be curious. I don't think it's about kind of bringing it together. More maybe seeing that our journey is complex and there's different areas, and maybe there's some stuff within you and in your daily life which are not so addressed through the teachings you find in your tradition. So maybe also the Zen tradition has not the whole thing. So then trying to bring it together would be, I think, one could also appreciate the differences and see how the other tradition can benefit your path without taking it too serious and without coming to a point where you feel, you're not going to, you already found the most precious. This is it. So there's not a treasure in this book which you not already have in the Zen tradition. But our psyche is so complex, and the journey is long. You also need to read some books. I mean, you need to have some helpful entertainment, yeah. So, like, no, if you would take another area of development, like psychotherapy. So instead of trying to bring cognitive psychotherapy and Jungian deep psychology to think, oh, how can I bring it together? You can also see, wow, they are both addressing certain areas of the journey, and they have their benefits, and they have their maybe kind of a bit of, they are lacking maybe in some, but it's not about bringing them together, but kind of looking and seeing, okay, so what is helpful here, and what would add to my experience and my wisdom. And also from the Bodhisattva point of view, you want to learn stuff which is not necessarily helpful for you, because you want to be as helpful as possible. So if you, as a Zen practitioner, meet a Tibetan Buddhist practitioner, or any other person, then it's good that you have a bit of knowledge in other things, so that you can maybe offer that person something which is helpful for that person. Because for some people, 30 years of just sitting is not that attractive. So they might need something else, and then to be able to guide people in a way that suits them. So that would be also one reason to have a bit of a knowledge of other paths. Yeah, but again, you have already. I mean, there is not a deeper treasure in this. This is a bit complex Baroque package, kind of Catholic Buddhism. Yeah. But the transmission within it, the transmission of no mind, is the same. And the transmission of no mind is the same also in at least in some of the Theravada practices. I know from the Thai forest tradition. They share the same. If you want to kind of dive into the kind of practices which are connected with your style, that would be, you mentioned Dzogchen, yeah, Dzogchen and Essence Mahamudra. So that would be probably the place where you would find the common ground, and there it's also sometimes helpful to read the same kind of unexpressible experience, to read about that which you can't actually write about, but nevertheless people write about it, so that it can make your own description of your own experience and your sharing of your experience more rich, and so it might help you to have new words or new symbols for the experience within Soto Zen. It's not necessary, but since you enjoy it and it might enrich you, I would go for it. And there's enough Tibetan Buddhist teachers who would appreciate where you're coming from. So they wouldn't feel superior, or so they would appreciate your curiosity.
I really like the cooperation between Shogyan Trungpa and Suzuki Roshi.
Mm.
And I
That's
can
a good
even
example.
today, when I read Pema, I can read in her books about things coming from Suzuki Roshi.
Sure.
And it's really beautiful because now it's integrated in their tradition. Really. So, yeah.
I spent 3 months in Gampo Abbey many years ago,
Yeah.
In the winter retreat with Pema Chodron. That was interesting. It was quite difficult for me to make peace with the eating and marching in the meditation room, and so because I come more from the kind of wild Mahayana Tantra monasticism, and then there's this possibility to find freedom within, not in letting everything be as it is in the inside, but like you put yourself into a prison kind of, and find freedom in that. So your ego has a big battle. So the ego is a stupid word, but I use it anyway. So the egoic process is like it's really struggling all the time, and I got angry, and I had incredible, powerful, rebellious thoughts.
It's beautiful.
See, that's. But maybe it's also kind of a preference, yeah. So, if I tell some people like about the Thai forest tradition, one of the main things they do is they make people suffer in their practice. And it's like, if I tell you go to a Thai forest monastery and sweat and be beaten by mosquitoes and eat rotten fish and sit on a concrete floor without cushion, some people here will think, that's crazy, I'm not going to do this. Some people, maybe there's nobody here, but some people like particular young men, wow, they feel, yeah, that's it. I'm going there. Sit on the concrete floor, not sleep, just 1 hour a day, and eat rotten fish. And they get results. And some people are interested in, they are attracted to that way of practicing in the Zen tradition. It was not so much my thing, I must say. I can see the value, and I relaxed into it, and then I could see the benefits. But it's not only the outward forms which you find in Gampo Abbey, for example, or in the whole Shambhala tradition, coming from Suzuki Roshi, but it's also the transmission of no mind. Yeah? That's what it is about. Okay, so this question is something to explore, like a life, It's part of your life's journey to ask this question, get different answers, be with that, staying curious, and not ever finding an answer, but still, the question is the journey. So let's have a break. Let's say 2:15. 2:15. So then, yeah.
Could I just ask for a hand up about who's going to join us tonight? Wonderful. So if you could just give us a few minutes in the kitchen so we can ban and crash and put out a few portions, and then we invite you in to have to take a bowl. We'll carry on. Okay?
You need help?
No.